Government decisions on producer pricing, sparking some much-needed debate. Now, as global cocoa prices reach record highs and severe supply challenges grip the international market, the government's announcement of a new, sharply increased farm gate price promises to reshape the livelihoods of hundreds of thousands of Ghanaian farmers and influence the country's standing among the world's top cocoa producers. Well, yet, beneath the headlines, serious questions linger about transparency, fairness, and the long-term sustainability of Ghana's cocoa policies. Stakeholders are divided over whether the new price truly rewards farmers or if it follows a top-down, politically motivated formula. This morning we'll be seeking to put some more flesh on the bones as far as this latest development is concerned. But let me take you now to a presser where the Minister of Finance, Dr. Kasiela Tuforsin, announced government's increased price of cocoa. Take a listen to the Minister.
3FM 92.7 Urban Lifestyle Radio Station.
Price of cocoa from $3,100 per ton to $5,040 per ton. It is instructive to note that the government has, by this decision, increased the producer price significantly by 62.58% in US dollar terms. This increase in the producer price represents 70% of the gross free on board value of $7,200 per ton and aligns with the NDC's manifesto and President Mohammed's promise to pay the cocoa farmer 70% of the FOB price. It is significant to note that for the 2024 and 2025 crop season, the previous administration set an FOB value of $4,850 per ton of cocoa and the producer price at $3,100 per ton, representing 63.9% of the FOB price, even though the world market price at the time was much better than today. And for emphasis, between 2024 and 2025, the previous administration set the FOB value at $4,850 per ton, even though the world market price condition was far favorable than today, whilst today we've set the FOB value at $7,200. The gross FOB value was arrived at using the outstanding cocoa contract of about 100,000 tons sold at $2,600 per ton in the 2023 and 2024 crop season, and average forecast for the 2025 and 2026 crop season. We arrived at the 7,200 FOB price after we took into consideration 100,000 tons of cocoa contracts sold at $2,600 per ton for the 2023 and 2024 crop season, and an average forecast for the 2025 and 2026 crop season. At an average exchange rate of 10.25 to the US dollar for the 2025-2026 crop season, the government is also pleased to announce an increase in the producer price of cocoa from 49,600 Ghana cedis per ton to 51,660 per ton. This further translates to an amount of 3,228 Ghana cedis and 75 pesos per bag of 64 kilogram gross weight of cocoa. Government further announces that this new price takes effect from Thursday, 7th August 2025. This takes effect on Thursday, 7th August 2025. This is coming on the back of a strong cedi and declining inflation, reflecting government commitment to improving the livelihood of our cocoa farmer. Since the second quarter of 2025, government has taken steps to maintain the cedi equivalent of $3,000 per ton at $16 cedis to $1, translating to 49,600 Ghana cedis per ton. This measure by government was to protect the cocoa farmer against the loss of income due to the strong performance of the currency. By maintaining the price at $3,000 per bag for several months now, amidst the strong performance of the Ghana cedi, the government of President Mahama has subsidized the cocoa farmer with an amount of 1,114 Ghana cedis for each bag of cocoa sold since the second quarter of 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, this intervention by government moved the farmer's share of the FOB price from 63.9% to over 99% between the second quarter till the close of the cocoa season. The Producer Price Review Committee has also approved rates, margins, and fees for all other stakeholders in cocoa supply chain. These include the buyer's margin, the hauliers rate, warehousing and internal marketing costs, fees for disinfestation, grading and sealing, and weighing, scaling, inspection. In preparation for the new season, Cocoa Board has made available jute sacks and related logistics for the smooth takeoff of the 2025-2026 crop season. Ladies and gentlemen, and to you, the cocoa farmer, I'm pleased to announce that President Mahama's administration has reintroduced the free cocoa fertilizer program as an additional support to the government. Ladies and gentlemen, I repeat, and to you, the cocoa farmer, I am pleased to announce that President John Mahama's administration has reintroduced the free cocoa fertilizer program as an additional support to the Ghanaian cocoa farmer beginning 2025-2026 crop season this year. Beginning this crop year, President Mahama's administration will supply the following for you for free. Free cocoa fertilizer, both liquid and granular. Free insecticides, free spraying machines, free fungicides, and free flower inducers to the cocoa farmer. Government strongly advises cocoa farmers to apply these inputs solely for the purpose of improving your cocoa yields and income. Please don't smuggle them. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to announce to cocoa farmers that President Mahama has introduced a tertiary education scholarship scheme for children of cocoa farmers. And for emphasis, President Mahama has introduced a tertiary education scholarship scheme for children of cocoa farmers. Subsequently, in the 2025 and 2026 season, Cocoa Board would develop modalities and implement the cocoa tertiary scholarship scheme for children of cocoa farmers, which will take effect from the 2026 and 2027 academic year.
We've seen percentages and they are using the dollar. You know, the NDC, what they do is that they try to always hide the truth. So you have to take your time, work the numbers. But the most important thing, and I encourage all of you in your newsrooms to do, pick the cedi value of a bag of cocoa on the market today, compare it to the new price they have announced, and see. Somebody's telling me that the change is about 100 cedis or something. Yes.
Less than 200 cedis.
Yes.
But they argue that that's because of the strengthened cedi.
Really? Is that what they told the farmers? Is that what Atuforsen told the farmers? Is that what he told them? So please, if the change is 128 cedis, ask yourself, the last time Akufo-Addo increased a bag of cocoa, how much did he increase it by? And when Atuforsen and President Mahama increased by a bag of cocoa, how much have they increased? At the end of the day, that is the analysis. We are just working the numbers right now. We've just come out of the meeting. We've seen percentages and they are using the dollar. You know, the NDC, what they do is that...
Cry no more, cry no more, my brother, cry no more.
This is there. And you are listening there to That first clip, it's a presser, or was a presser, where the Honorable Finance Minister, Dr. Kasiela Taforsin, announced this price increment. And then you also heard from Honorable Kojo Opong Nkrumah, and he's the MP for Ofuasi Eyubi, and he had some critique as far as this price increment is concerned.
The best in the morning is on 92.7 Sunrise on 3FM.
I'm 29 minutes past the hour of 8, and let's get stuck straight into the conversation. Let me say good morning and a very, very warm welcome to Mr. Edward Kariwe, former General Secretary, General Agricultural Workers Union. Mr. Kariwe, good morning. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, good morning. Today is a nice day, though it is raining.
You like this weather?
I like the weather. You know, it's good for everything except the rains. You know, otherwise you can cycle with it.
I think you said you've been jogging as well.
You can also jog. And then it's good. It's good.
When the weather is like this, some of us, we think...
And it saves a lot of problems too, because if you don't need to put your AC on.
That's true.
Fans may not go on.
That's true.
You know, it's quite a blessing, but you know, we know that some people get flu.
That's right. You know, for the young ones as well, if you don't wrap them up warm,
yes,
you know, they may get sick.
Of course, as for them, their immunity system is still low. We need to protect them all the time. But we, the adults, we need to protect ourselves even before
That's right.
we run into problems. The children, we vaccinate them. What about we, the adults?
That's very
no
true.
vaccination.
That's
we
very
have to
true.
take care of our health, eat well, and then do the things that will increase our immunity to fight diseases that we meet. Yes.
We're being told constantly that we're not taking good care of ourselves at all. There's a spike in non-communicable diseases, so hypertension, blood pressure, and it's the younger Ghanaians who are getting afflicted with all of these diseases, stroke, the pressure issues. It's very alarming.
We know diseases sometimes. There are certain ailments you don't know how to prevent them, but most of our ailments today are preventable, and it is lifestyle. Our lifestyle is, look, no matter how our situation, we can go more of organic. Organic. Most of our foods, even for the poor, that is those who cannot afford much, is organic. Should go for it. It is we those who think we're
modern now.
We are modern. We go and eat this junk food, and we do things we know very well that are not good for our health, yet we are doing them. Then eventually you have the problem. You know, and because we are also thinking that sometimes we are middle class, we can drink, we can eat. You know, you overindulge.
That's right.
No one say, I will not say you should abstain, but I'm saying that you do it in moderation. Everything is about moderation.
Absolutely.
You can see the many Ghanaians are becoming too bulky, you know.
We're becoming just fatter and fat. We go for jogging, and then the driver will pick us, then we eat fufu.
But do you know what that means to us? That we are an indisciplined people. So we can't discipline ourselves. If you have food, so what? Must you eat
everything?
Eat. If you have money, is that the way you should? So it means we are indisciplined people. Meanwhile, we talk. We say we are going for jogging. We don't keep to the rules. And anybody who goes for jogging, they will tell you that when you jog and do that, eat less, don't eat more of carbohydrates, drink a lot of water, eat more vegetables. We will not do that. And yet we expect that by mere jogging and doing those things, you will necessarily calm down.
No.
Then finally we get frustrated and we give up.
A word to the wise this morning. Hopefully today as you go about your day, you think about that. Some discipline. And I think Mr. Karawe said it best. Just because the food is available doesn't mean you have to eat everything in sight. We have to take care of ourselves. It's getting out of hand, especially for us younger ones as well. The stroke is getting too much. The hypertension. You see somebody 35, 36, 38, they've got stroke. And that used to be the kinds of diseases that were relegated for, later on in life. But now, it's not looking good.
But just ask yourself, what can doctors do for you? Health is personal.
That's right.
Look, if you take care of yourself well, you have less to go to doctors. And then doctors sometimes, because it is expensive, you avoid cost.
That's right.
Going to hospital is not an easy thing. Even the time you spend there, there are queues and so on. All that. Then after that, even if you are admitted, so you alone at the close of the day will be lying there. All your friends, your relations will go back home. So you can see it. Even if they pay for your bills, the pain you go through it. Even if you get the medication, the discomfort of taking medication.
That's right.
I mean, of us are roaming about with medications in our bags.
So many medications.
So many medications. We can avoid it. We can avoid it because it's getting frightening that even it's not the older people, it is the younger people who are...
It's the younger ones.
It's because of lifestyle and discipline. And that works into every aspect of our life. Social life, at the workplace, any job we are given, we are indisciplined. So you can see how you can pick one thing and you know what the Ghanaian is. Our major problem is indiscipline.
And it has a knock-on effect, you say, in every sphere of life.
Yeah.
Look at our economic situation. All of that is indiscipline.
Yes, it's all indiscipline. It's all indiscipline. At the workplace, people know where they are indisciplined. If it's raining, so what? Around this time, buy a raincoat, buy Wellington boots. I mean, protect yourself. There's no excuse to say that because I'm staying at faraway place, I should come to work late. You know your distance from your house to the workplace. Why do we do this? And sometimes when you're a manager, you have a pain. So sometimes we workers, we blame managers. But look, when you're a manager, you have all this pain. But for me, at the end of the day, I blame the managers because you are paid to make sure that people do their work.
That's right.
So if they are not doing their work, discipline them.
You say that leadership, everything falls and rises with leadership.
Exactly. So I just don't know why we are praying, we are doing... There are no issues of prayers. They are issues of action.
It's not witchcraft.
No. Where is it coming from? Where is it coming from? Don't you know that indiscipline is witchcraft? Stealing is witchcraft. Why do you steal? You are not stealing to survive. You are stealing to even waste. You see? It's not just about someone who is dying of hunger and then you steal. They are not those people that we talk about their chiefs. But people who have enough and they still steal. You think this is not witchcraft?
It's witchcraft of the highest form. Mr. Karawe, what a powerful preamble. But this morning, we have cocoa prices on the agenda. It's been one that has been dissected to some degree over the last almost 24 hours that this announcement came to bear. And the increment, we'll take a quick look at that chart. We'll see the announcement that was made, what it looks like. Let's get the other chart up in dollar terms, as it was announced by the finance minister. The first chart, you've got that graph. Let's take a look at that graph. Okay, so an increment there in dollar terms. If you're watching on Facebook, you can follow along from $3,100 to some $5,040. We will also take a look at it in city terms and what that means. So that's gone from some 3,100 Ghana cedis to 3,228, an increment in city terms of some 128 cedis. When you look at it in dollar terms, the increment is much higher. Of course, because the city is now flexing its muscles, in city terms, the increment is not as high. Let's take a look at this other graph here on Facebook. Now, this is from Alfred Appiah, and he's a data scientist, policy analyst, no stranger to our platform, and he does some great work when it comes to policy analysis and also data collection. And he says the government has announced a 4% nominal increase in cocoa farm gate prices. Take or bear that in mind, 4% nominal increase when you take a look at it in city terms. I know government announced it in dollar terms. I have my own thoughts on that. I'm sure you do as well. He says, however, when adjusted for inflation, this translates to an 8.5% decrease compared to last season. In real terms, cocoa farmers are worse off than they were in 2024. He says, based on 12 years of data I have, this is the third worst season over season change in producer prices in inflation adjusted terms. So you see the graph in its entirety. You can follow along from 2016 up until where we are now. And we're grateful for the work that Alfred does. He says he's put it in, it's adjusted for inflation using 2019 as a base year. Going beyond what has been put out by government, it's important to interrogate the figures and actually situate it amongst other macroeconomic indicators as well as the cedi to dollar exchange. Mr. Karawe, what are your thoughts and what did you think actually when this price increment was announced?
I think that it's a good news.
Okay.
It's good news because there has been an increase, and then more money will come into the hands of farmers. And I always hold the view that when you support your citizens by putting money in their hands, then you are increasing their purchasing power. And when people's purchasing power goes up, then it means their standard of living can go up. They can purchase more goods and services than before, you know. So when this increment, and more importantly, when it goes to farmers, you know, in this country, the most vulnerable group is in the rural areas and the farmers.
Right.
You know, so when you give them direct money into their hands, then you are avoiding diversions. You know, you give the money direct to them, to the farmers, those who need it. You give it to them. Then you are avoiding waste. You are avoiding corruption. You are avoiding them because it's given directly to the people. It's the same thing like when you are giving increased wages. That money goes direct to the worker and then his family. You know, it doesn't pass through any other place. There are no other costs to it. You see, so that becomes an effective way of, distribution of income to your citizens. So I think it's a good thing for now.
But given what what policy analysts and data scientists are also exploring, would you say that this recent cocoa price increment adequately reflects the true cost and needs of the Ghanaian cocoa farmer? Because it's been adjusted. When we adjust it for inflation purposes, it doesn't look as exciting. Government put that increment in dollar terms. I thought we were moving away from dollar. The cocoa farmer gets paid in cedis. Was that, do you see any element of PR in there? Do you see where I'm coming from?
Yes, I see where you are coming from. But you see, it is not about PR. Because you see, these are products that are not sold in Ghana.
Right.
How do you want an increase and you don't want to talk about dollar? What happens at the international market has a direct bearing on how much we can give to Cocoa Board can give to farmers or government can give to farmers. Right. So you cannot analyze it without looking at what happens at the global market. And anytime prices of cocoa For instance, when it used to be 2,000 per ton or 2,006 per ton, we complained.
Right.
You know that, because we wanted the price to go up. But when the price goes up, you are in a better position to release more of it to your farmers. But when the price continues to come down and other production costs and other costs are going up, what do we then do? Again, we also have to remember that the world market price for cocoa is not for farmers alone. Because if you look at it, I'm a farmer, and there are many farmers in other areas too. They have to look for their own market for their produce. Cocoa farmers, government will try as much as possible to bring the market close to you and pick it. Whatever government does with the beans, it's not your lookout. You see? And we also know that along the value chain, you see that they need to clean up this cocoa beans at the cocoa board level and before they now ship it out and all that. All those costs will have to come from the price. So no one should think that if the price in the world market is A or is then everything should be given to the farmers. No, that cannot be. Because if you do that, how are you going to fund the other costs that has come along with it? So that is one thing we need to look at. And again, you see, I looked at Albert's, is it Albert?
Alfred.
Alfred's analysis.
Yes.
You know, it's academic. It's academic and it's good for students.
Right.
Who are economic students who use that and say that and they'll get their marks. But he has not also looked at the support that government is going to give to farmers in the course of their production.
Right.
Because if you say there are ways of that before, yes, from the nominal figures and the analysis here, you can say so. You get it?
Yes, and we can put that up again so we can interrogate that. Yes.
They should put it back. And you see that that is not the true picture on the ground, because you have left the other side of the equation.
Right.
The other side of the equation is that government is now going to provide, no, it should come the other one, where his statements are.
Okay, let's do that one.
You can see the government, beyond just increasing this, are going to provide what? Free fertilizer and other pesticides. If you look at the cost of fertilizers and at the other pesticides and put it on the price for the cocoa farmer, at the end of the day, you see the price up, the nominal figure will be up, and that will affect his analysis. If the nominal
so we can't take that out of he can't take that out of the analysis. That's very integral.
Yes, you can't take it out of the analysis because it is a two-pronged. And government has shown clearly that it's not only about price. They are also looking at how they can directly intervene or support the farmer to produce. The headache of looking for fertilizer to come and put on your farm is if you're a farmer, you know it. It's just not an easy thing. And it is not, so that one is and is the major input for cocoa production. Fertilizer and then the pesticide.
Yeah.
Government is taking care of that. And he has not quantified that in monetary terms and put it on the price and then to do his analysis. If you do that, I don't think that the results will be the same.
Certainly. Let's get that back on the screen, what Alfred had to say about the increment, the nominal increment, the write-up. And whilst we do that, let me also say a very good morning and a warm welcome to Dr. Samuel Ayer, Presidential Aide for Government Communications. Doc, good to see you. Good morning.
Good to see you too. Good morning. Good morning to my senior co-panelists. Good morning to our listeners and our viewers on Facebook. It's refreshing to be here this morning to be part of the conversations.
Fantastic. We have a lot of questions and we're also seeking your thoughts on that. So, Mr. Karaway, it's back up on the screen again.
Yes.
And this is what the data scientist had to say.
Okay. Now, he says that the announcement only resulted in a 4% nominal increase. Now, if you value the price of the fertilizer and put it, the cocoa price will go up. The nominal percentage will not be 4% again. And if it is not 4% and it has gone up, it will eventually go to affect his translation, which he says translates to 8.5% decrease compared to last season. You see? But you see, when you do that, when you do that, and you also have to appreciate that cocoa is a strategic crop. It's a strategic crop. It's not a type of area of investment that you can leave to the people whether they want to go into it or they don't want to go into it. You need to strategically induce people to go into the production. Over 800,000 households depend on cocoa income.
Over 800,000?
Yes. Depend on cocoa incomes directly. The farmers and their what? Their dependents and so on. You can't joke with such a number if you are seeking to do what? To bring your people out of poverty. So because of that, government will have to pay particular attention to what happens in cocoa. You see that? There are some crop areas where government does not intervene that way. If you want, you go into it. If you don't want, you don't go into it.
Right.
You get it? But it is not cocoa, because you must be deliberate about it. And apart from that, the requirements that are needed to be able to sell your product, cocoa, in the international market is high standard. Government must intervene to make sure that the country is not blacklisted and all that. So you can see the level of government interest in cocoa production. So you just don't increase the price alone, and you say, okay, go and look for your own inputs and pesticides and the rest. Then they go and look for some type of pesticides that are not needed or are banned or this and that, and they spray it on the farms. What then happens? Eventually, your cocoa will be tagged for having a lot of higher chemicals in it and so on. So government will have to be interested in that. And that is why it is important, in my view, to ensure that you regulate and support the farmers to produce the quality of cocoa that you want. You see that?
Right.
And so these figures that Albert put up, I said that yes, it's good, but then yes, if you look at the other side,
right,
the figures will change.
So you've taken us from the classroom to the actual farm.
Yes.
I want us to take a quick listen again to Honorable Kojo Nkrumah, and then when we come back, I'll ask Doc a few questions. He had his own thoughts on this price increment announcement. Take a listen.
We are just working the numbers right now. We've just come out of the meeting. We've seen percentages, and they are using the dollar. You know, the NDC, what they do is that they try to always hide the truth. So you have to take your time, work the numbers. But the most important thing, and I encourage all of you in your newsrooms to do, pick the CD value of a bag of cocoa on the market today, compare it to the new price they have announced, and see. Somebody's telling me that the change is about 100 cedis or something. Yes.
Less than 200 cedis.
Yes.
But they argue that that's because of the strengthened cedi.
Really? Is that what they told the farmers? Is that what Atuforsen told the farmers? Is that what he told them? So please, if the change is 128 cedis, ask yourself, the last time Akufo-Addo increased a bag of cocoa, how much did he increase it by? And when Atuforsen and President Mahama increased by a bag of cocoa, how much have they increased? At the end of the day, that is the analysis.
All right, so that is the MP for Ofuasi Eribi Kojo upon Nkrumah reacting there to that price increment. And let me bring Doc into the conversation, because a lot has been said about using the dollar increment versus using the cedi increment. And Mr. Karawe seeks to put some understanding towards why we do that. We're looking at the world prices, but I'm sure you've also monitored this school of thought that there's been a change in position. I know this is a very technical area. I've been trying to wrap my mind around it. Has government shifted its position from previously advocating the use of world market price for farm gate calculations to now using achieved FOB price? And I'm hoping that you can break that down for us, because all evening I've been trying to connect the dots. Is there any confusion here?
There's no confusion. I think the government has been consistent with what we have always been asking for. And I'm surprised that my senior brother, Kojo Nkrumah, wants to shift the goalpost, but we will get there. You see, essentially what has happened is that for the first time in the history of Ghana, for about 3 decades now, we have had the highest increment in the cost or producer price of cocoa per tonnage. We have moved from $3,100 per ton to $5,040. That is an addition of $1,940 per ton. It has never happened within the shortest possible time. And it's a very significant milestone that we must achieve. Now, previously, when we criticized the MPP's conduct that they were ripping off farmers, there was a reason. Because at the time, international market price of cocoa was hovering around $9,000. Unfortunately, they put FOB price at $4,850. You have international market price of over $9,000, but you put FOB price at $4,850. That is just about 50% of the international market price. You ended up giving producer price at $3,100 per ton. A new government comes. International market prices have dwindled. Now we are doing a little below $8,000. But the government sets FOB price at $7,200. That is about 90% of the international market price. The previous government did 50% of international market price of FOB, but the new government is doing 90% FOB of the international market price, whilst we do 70% of FOB price for producer price. So now the government says FOB price at $7,200, but is giving farmers $5,040. That is 70% of the FOB price. That was the promise His Excellency the President made. So when we were saying that under the MPP, because of the premiums our cocoa got and the international market price, farmers should have gotten at least 6,000 Ghana cedi. At the time, the exchange rate was about 16 Ghana cedis. Today, the cedi has appreciated. The exchange rate is doing about 10.25. That was the calculation they did. But in dollars, there has been an addition of $1,940 per tonnage to the cocoa. That is a significant milestone that the cocoa farmer has benefited. You understand the point I'm making? Nobody can tell me that $3,100 is better than $5,040. It cannot be said anywhere that $3,100 under the MPP is better than $5,040 under the government of President.
The critique has been that we're talking in dollar terms. If we bring it to city terms, the increment is not as juicy. Is that the truth?
You see, the fundamental point is that at the end of the day, there has been an increment. We know where we are coming from and where we are going. Do you know that the previous administration, for the first time, went and signed a contract to deliver some quantities of cocoa bags? They took the money and failed to deliver. About 330,000 metric tons of cocoa. For the first time, they took the money, spent it, but they couldn't deliver. That has been a debt hanging over the neck of cocoa board. So today, every bag of cocoa that we sell, we have to pay for the debt that we have. Never mind that, for the first time, we failed to get syndicated loans, which was giving the country about $2 billion annually. The MPP could not get because of how badly they mismanaged cocoa. They let cocoa debt at cocoa board about 32 billion Ghana cedis, which is a debt that we need to pay as a country. They inherited cocoa tonnage of 1 million metric tons in 2017. Before they left, they were doing about 450,000 metric tons. Somebody leaves you 1 million, somebody leaves you 1 million cocoa tonnage in inheritance. You are going and you leave 450,000. When they were doing that, they were still allowing cocoa farmers to pay for fertilizers. They were saying that they gave them subsidies. They were paying for insecticides. They were paying for fungicides. Under the John Dramani Mahama administration, we are instituting free cocoa fertilizers. We are giving free insecticides. we are giving free fungicides. We are giving free cocoa insecticide sprayers. To add on to it, we have instituted a free tertiary education scholarship for children of cocoa farmers. And so this is a full package.
So this goes even beyond this increment that has been announced.
Beyond it, we have instituted about 5 or 6 additional interventions for the benefit of cocoa farmers, just like I've mentioned to you. So the point is clear that because of where we are coming from, how Cocoa Board has badly been managed, if care is not taken, the whole sector, even though it is clear that it is collapsed, we will not be able to revive it within the time that we want to revive it. And I believe that the leadership of Cocoa Board under Dr. Randiabi and the vision of President John Dramani Mahama will go a long way to revitalize, revamp the sector, and continue to give more to cocoa farmers, to be sensitive to their plight, to recognize the difficulties they face and how vital and priceless their contributions to national development is concerned. That is why today all these things have been reinstituted. In fact, there is a bill going to Parliament to make sure that Cocoa Board does not deviate from their mandates in protecting the interests of cocoa farmers. So we can go on and on and on and on. But the fundamental point the people of Ghana must understand is that under the MPP, they had more on international market price sales, but they gave less. Today, the NDC government is receiving less on international market price and doing more. That is a significant milestone that we have chalked as a government that the farmers need to recognize.
So you say it would be misplaced for the average Ghanaian to be fixated on the cedi increment because there are other factors that are at play at this point in time. We talk about fertilizers, and I know that's a big concern for the farmers. And Mr. Karawel lays that out very clearly: pesticides, fungicides, and in fact, if one was to quantify that in monetary terms, that would certainly change the metrics that our data scientists are churning out. But Doc, there's a question that also keeps coming up because of the strengthening of the cedi, and this one I've seen, floating about. What guarantees are in place to prevent pricing shortfalls from being offset by exchange rate fluctuations or market changes? That's been a big conversation. We see the cedi flexing its muscles, and that's definitely having an impact on the pricing.
Yeah, cocoa. Yes, but you know that you have an exchange rate in the previous exchange rate of 16 Ghana cedis at what inflation?
Right.
Today, the cedi is stronger at a lower inflation. And so there is power in the money that farmers will have. You understand? What was the price of fuel before we came to government? It was 72 Ghana cedis per gallon. Today, it is hovering around 53, 54 Ghana cedis per gallon. So the cocoa farmer is getting more money, additional money, but will have to pay less for other commodities in their production. Government has put in place measures. I'm sure going forward, more information will come from the Finance Ministry and Cocoa Board itself, so that the necessary measures will be put in place, not to, destroy how prices are fixated or fixed, so that cocoa farmers can benefit. But in the interim, we need to understand that President Mahama has delivered on his promise that farmers will have to get 70% of FOB price. And that is indeed and exactly what the government has done.
Mr. Karaway, let me come to you on this one. Do you believe that this price hike and also the other goodies as promised by government is enough to discourage cocoa farmers from switching to alternative livelihoods like we saw in the past? Farmers giving out their lands for galamsey. They say, we're not going to do cocoa anymore. In fact, we want to do illegal mining.
Well, I'm happy that we are taking time to analyze this. And one thing I just think that we Ghanaians must learn is that the things we did in the past And it brought us to this terrible economic situation. We cannot continue to do that. No, we can't continue to do that. We need to reorient our minds. And those who are still living in the past and want to perpetuate the past way of doing things, which did not take us anywhere, but just deliver us poverty and misery, they should rethink. Because whatever becomes good, it is good for all of us. What do we need money for? Why do we need so much money in your pocket for? It's to be able to buy goods and services. But if we are able to manage, do other things to bring down the cost of living, we don't necessarily need so much money in your pocket. That is it. So the argument that we should be looking at nominal figures alone, which is also the argument that Honorable Increment tried to show, and also tried to hold the government on for statement they made a year ago or something like that, without putting it in context, it's not good at all. You must put things in context.
Right.
Yeah, because we all knew that price of cocoa at that time was around $10,000. Sometimes even beyond. It went to 11,000, 12,000 and so on. So if you receive so much from the international market, why don't you also raise the cocoa farmers' price to a certain level? And that was the context upon which the 6,000, the 7,000 was talked about.
Yes.
Today, you see, in life, that's why we have got this thing. They say that you can eat your cake and have it
back.
We in Ghana cannot be looking for a situation where we want the dollar to come down, the price of the dollar to come down. We want inflation to come down. You see, we want fuel prices to come down. And at the same time, now thinking that we should be giving more money. Because if you go to the fuel station now, you buy less than you used to buy. And we want it to come down further if they can do it.
Right.
If it comes down further, why do we still think about the nominal figures? So that argument is not good, and it is even ordinary Ghanaians are beginning to realize that government should be encouraged to work to bring down cost of living generally, and then you see that people will be ready to ask for less. Now, the question about whether the price increase will stop smuggling.
Yes. Do you think, along with the other incentives mentioned by government, do you think that it will be enough, as a good enough incentive to curb some of the ills we've seen in the recent past?
One of the things you need to know is that smuggling is, what are the motives for smuggling? Why do people engage in smuggling? Sometimes it's out of greed, unpatriotism. It's not that when you get the opportunity, you must sell your country out. They are not in need. They are not in need. And in actual fact, it is not necessarily the farmers who do the smuggling. It's not. Because if you look at the farmers where they say it and they do their farming, they cannot leave their farming and arrange all the transport to go outside to carry it across.
Right.
There are agents who probably are not even farmers. That is their business. They come and get it from the farmers and then do the smuggling. So we should know that the price increase is to the farmers and who do not necessarily engage in smuggling. But those who engage in smuggling have different motives.
Right.
Now, why do we also smuggle? We smuggle because there's price difference between countries. If the price of cocoa in Ghana is higher than that of our neighboring countries, there will be low motivation.
Indeed.
Okay. But you cannot always have that. We cannot use price alone to stop smuggling. Because if you take the other countries, do they support their farmers as we do here? No. So you can't, in one vein, allocate resources to support the farmers to produce, and then you still have enough to increase the prices to go beyond all your neighbors. Some of them are not even producing. You see? And you see, we those who are in the agricultural sector, we know how these things play. You support the farmers, and then there is some cost on it, like some of the companies, they support the farmers to produce, and then they have to pay back some of the inputs they've given them over a time. At the time of harvest, someone comes holding his bag with money, ready to add a little over the price that the farmer has agreed with the company, and then gives the money to the farmer. And at that point, the farmer avoids paying the loan, which they are going to make a small deduction on it, avoids to pay that. Those things are there. And that is what also happens with the cocoa. So it is not going to stop the smuggling. What we need to do to stop the smuggling is that whatever is not supposed to go outside this country, we make sure that we tighten those knots.
Right.
And we have our security personnel all over, different forms and nature, and they should deploy that. So that government effort in trying to prop up the cocoa industry does not go in vain. Because you cannot do this, and when you produce, then it is taken out of the country. And there's one point we need to pick, and Dr. Ye raised it here, about the 330,000 metric tons of cocoa, which we failed to deliver, and it's now a debt on us. It's not an ordinary debt. You cannot get up now today, so we have got money, please, how much did it cost? You gave us, say, $2,600 per ton. So please, we are paying you back. You can't do that. They did not say they want money. They want what? Beans.
That's right.
They want beans, and you must provide the beans. So by the time you provide those beans, you have less to sell. You have less to sell. And the very people who have created that debt, which is very difficult to pay, except through beans, cocoa beans alone, are now those who are saying that, oh, you should have raised the price this way. If you deduct that one out, so if you have 1 million metric tons, and then for the season, and you have to take out 330,000 metric tons, how much will be left? So that you are now only content with, which is less than 700 metric tons, to be able to sell and pay the farmers and pay all the costs. Because this one, you have to just send it. So it is because, and we are not holding people accountable. No, we should not only hold people accountable for direct financial loss, we should hold them accountable for mismanagement. Because this was mismanagement. Those who created that and did not supply must account for it. And they must be, so that's what we need to do. But
Certainly.
So the smuggling, it is not going to stop easily like that. We also need to beef up our security to make sure that those ills are not done.
Certainly.
And the places that they need to focus on, it's not Cote d'Ivoire, but it is Burkina Faso and Togo areas. Because they have a flexible system. They themselves, how much cocoa do they produce?
Right.
Yeah. So they just come in, then they know that we support our farmers to produce, and when they produce, and aside that, our cocoa is so quality, so everybody is looking for it. So it becomes attractive to smuggle.
Thank you for that, Mr. Kariwe. Let me also invite into the conversation Dr. Ramsey Inusa, lead member, Movement for Change. Doc, good to see you. Good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning, Helen. Apologies for my lateness.
I saw you made an appearance on
That's
the big
right.
issue. Was that your debut appearance?
No.
Oh,
I've
okay.
been there a couple of times.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, I'm actually multitasking. So, good morning to my brother, Dr. Ayi, and good morning to
Karwe.
Mr. Kiriwe.
Yes.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
He's indeed a very powerful person.
Very, very powerful.
Very
indeed.
powerful person.
In fact, he's put a lot of flesh on the bones this morning.
Oh, yes. I mean,
so that we go beyond the figures. Because as I was monitoring this conversation, what had been, I guess, most topical had been juxtaposing the dollar figure against the city figure. But there are other legs to this conversation. Let me pick your preliminary thoughts on this increment.
I must start first and foremost by praising the prudent management of our cocoa affairs by the current Minister for Finance, Honorable Kesa Atoforsen, who chairs the PPRC as a finance minister. I must say that the current situation bedeviling our cocoa sector, if not taken care properly, would erode the gains, the current incremental gains that we have. Yes, we must celebrate it, but there are fundamental issues that we need to deal with, Helen. In 2024, 1/3 of Ghana's cocoa output was smuggled out of the country.
1/3?
1/3. 1/3. It's quite worrying. You ask yourself, do we actually have a customs department in this country? Do we have a serious police in this country? And no other agencies that are meant to pick intel on these operations? It is quite worrying. The second aspect, Ghana has been blessed with cocoa for over 60 years and counting. Yet still, the prevailing factors that undermine our cocoa production are still concurrent, and the issues with the swollen stem shoot virus is still there. What are we doing with all the cocoa revenues that we've gotten? How are we investing in some form of research and development, right, in our cocoa industry to mitigate these issues? We know of biotechnology, where other countries are changing the genomes of certain plant species to increase yield and all that. Why aren't we looking at these aspects as well to increase our productivity, right? And also to do with the welfare of farmers. Smuggling, they can say it as they want it, but farmers do smuggle, individuals also do smuggle. We know that for a fact. And this is as a result of the price disparity between our neighboring countries. And that is why Ghana and La Côte d'Ivoire has come together to form the Cocoa Initiative.
Right.
To see how best they can harmonize pricing and also ensure that there is some form of fair revenue flow to our cocoa farmers. I believe that Ghana currently suffers from what I call the cocoa paradox. In a world where the chocolate industry, for example, is over $100 billion, which has a compound annual growth rate of 4.1% and is projected to rise to $159 billion by the year 2039. It is quite worrying that we still export our cocoa beans in its raw form without any absolute value addition to it.
I mean, at this point, we should have, all the different kinds of combinations. We should be the pioneers, but you have Switzerland. How much cocoa does
trees they have? I'm not even sure they have a cocoa tree.
When you talk about chocolate, they say Swiss chocolate.
Belgium chocolate.
Belgian chocolate.
This is a paradox. And I believe that I would celebrate the Honorable Minister, the Minister for Agric, and the Minister for Trade and Industry, if they are able to champion and change the narrative of such paradox. I will praise them. I will hold them in high esteem. Teta Kwashi has done his bit. He's gone. After all these years, Teta Kwashi has left us with cocoa. What are our political elites and actors also doing to add more to the cocoa resource that we have? This, I believe, is a conversation we need to start as Ghanaians. If we really want to be serious about this industry, cocoa contributes to our GDP about 15 to 20%. And so you can imagine the employment opportunity, the economic opportunity when we add more value to our cocoa. Today, and I don't want to sound a bit condescending to one of our cocoa brands, Golden Tree. When I was a little boy, I used to like Golden Tree a lot.
You don't like it anymore?
Oh, well, but when you eat something for a long time and they don't change, there's no innovation, the packaging is not attractive. Since my birth to date, the packaging is the same way.
Oh, there's been some changes here.
Oh, Helen.
Come on.
Helen, the red one, what's it called? King's Bite or whatever. It's the same. I had even some yesterday. It's the same. You have some in your bag. It's the same. There's no.
You have to start eating it.
There's no innovation, right? We ought to support Ghanaian startups, right? Look at it. Thank you very much.
We've
Look
seen
at
it. Okay.
Look at this. This packaging, look at this.
Let's-
Aluminium foil.
That's okay. That's
I
okay.
mean,
We understand.
How
Thank
can
you,
you
Doc.
compete
Thank
with
you,
Kit
Doc.
Kats?
Thank you,
How
Doc.
can you compete with Twix and the rest?
Dr. Ramsey, if you'll not eat yours, bring it.
Oh, I think.
I can take that off your...
I will give yours to her.
Dr. Aye, thank you for that.
You know,
So, I mean, it's not a conversation that is lost in this particular discussion that we're having. It comes up time without number, and I'm happy that we're looking at the different legs of this conversation beyond this nominal increase. And it's not, it's rightly put. I'm sure Dr. Aye can tell us more about what the plans are to elevate this chocolate of ours.
Let me end on this note.
Right.
We have some reform recommendation to the government. It's in regards to Cocoa Board.
This is movement for change you're referring to.
Movement for change.
Right.
I believe that Cocoa Board over the years has not been efficient in its prudent management of the cocoa sector.
Right.
We need some structural reforms in Cocoa Board. Number one is to do with its ability to raise funds. Right? We do not believe that the external cocoa syndication loan is the ultimate way for government to raise money to buy cocoa. Cocoa is bought in Ghana cedis for God's sake. Why do we have to go and, each year borrow $1.5 billion to $2 billion to come and buy cocoa from Ghanaian farmers in cities? We are proposing that government, instead of going for external cocoa syndication loan, you create cocoa bonds, right? Just like government raises T-bills locally. We can create cocoa bonds so that Ghanaian businesses and individuals can buy cocoa bonds, and government can raise this money in cities, use to buy cocoa, export it, and get the hard-earned dollars that we need to stabilize our city. Secondly, we need to also consolidate the financial management of Cocoa Board. Currently, Cocoa Board is quite autonomous when it comes to its fiscal management. We believe that it should be part of the government's books, and it should be managed by either the Ministry of Finance or the Ministry of Agric, right? So that Cocoa Board will not be autonomous, and there will be some form of absolute checks and balances. You understand? Thirdly, Helen, and I must commend them rightly, because the life of a cocoa farmer in our modern Ghana is nothing to write home about. That is why when you tell a youthful person to go into the arena of cocoa farming, they frown upon that. The government has currently introduced the cocoa scholarship scheme for wards of cocoa farmers. I believe that is the right direction, right? And I want to commend this government for such a great policy. But I believe that if we want to move Ghana a step forward, I do not believe in whimsical political promises. I believe in transformation. What is the benefit of government's policy in the long term? That is what I stand for.
Right.
And that is why we want to see them change that paradox and ensure that Ghana becomes the hub for chocolate in the world, so that at least in the next 10 to 20 years, we can be able to rake in about $10 billion, $15 billion annually from chocolate sales by Ghanaian chocolate brands.
Doc, thank you so much for your input. Dr. Aye, that conversation, I know that it's one that is always gaining momentum. What are we doing about the end product? How are we making our chocolate industry even more exciting? Are we going to be seeing some chocolate festivals and so on and so forth? I mean, this King's Bite that Mr. Kariwe is eating, Mr. Kariwe, very delicious. There's nothing like Ghanaian. There's nothing like Ghanaian chocolate.
Yes.
There's nothing like this. Is quality cocoa.
Yes,
go anywhere in the world, especially you go in the UK, you talk about chocolate. Oh, you're from Ghana. What? Ghana, the cocoa? Yes. I mean, we've established ourselves on that leg as far as the quality of the cocoa. But Doc, how do we elevate the status to make it about the chocolate, for example?
Yes, I think that it all finds itself in our agenda of industrialization. You know that it has always been part of our campaign promises to change raw materials or raw produce into almost processed or finished way for whatever we need to use it for. And so it is a step in the right direction. I know that going forward there will be further communication from Cocoa Board's outfits so that we know exactly what plans are being put in place for the processing, chocolate production, and what have you. It is a question that they must answer. But it speaks to, and I listened to my senior brother Ramsey and Doc here. It speaks to how we have managed cocoa board for the past years. You cannot manage a sector like cocoa board or the cocoa sector to a point where you are defaulting on your loans. You realize that in the past 80, they even started defaulting on cocoa bills. Do you remember? Yes. That was how badly they managed the cocoa sector. And I believe that just like the president has promised and the CEO of, Cocoa Board has made it clear, incrementally, the Cocoa Board that was a strategic bulwark for the country as far as revenue is concerned. You know that Cocoa Board used to produce about $2 billion for government annually. We cannot boast of that presently. I know that because of the investment the government will do in Cocoa Board, we will get to the days where Cocoa Board used to be buoyant, Cocoa Board used to be revered, Cocoa Board used to be the one-stop shop as far as maintaining the stability of our currency is concerned. I know that we are going to get there. All we need is leadership. When we came, what was the state of the economy? What was inflation? What was the rate of depreciation? Now we are not even talking about depreciation. We are talking about appreciation of 42%. You understand? Primary balance, import cover, exchange rate, the prices of fuel. Within 7 months, this is a significant milestone that we must recognize. I believe that it will also translate into the cocoa sector for the benefit of farmers and other stakeholders in the cocoa chain. You understand the point I'm making?
Certainly.
So there will be far-reaching improvement, there will be far-reaching development, so that at the end of the day, the people of Ghana or the farmers can benefit from their hard labor.
Certainly. And to be fair to data scientist Alfred Appiah and policy analyst, he actually addresses some of the nuance in the conversation this morning. And I'll read that out. We'll also project it on the screen. Now, he says that it's interesting that much of the attention is on the increase in dollar terms because it tells a better story than in cedi terms. And he says, but farmers don't get paid in dollars. While the producer price has gone up by 63% in dollar terms, this translates to 4% increase in cedi terms due to the significant appreciation of the cedi. He goes on to say that farmers are receiving an additional 128.75 cedis per bag. And he goes, based on my calculations, they could have seen a potential 900 cedi increase if the government applied the promised 70% of the world market price. But he goes on to say this. He says the reason for this shortfall is because there are outstanding forward contracts that still need to be honored, some of which were locked in at prices as low as $2,600. And Dr. Aye also mentioned that per ton, according to this government, he says this is far below the current world market price, which is averaging over $9,000 per ton. He says hopefully government can clear these legacy contracts soon so that farmers can finally receive their fair share of the global market prices as promised. So he gives us the figures. He's done the dollar and the cedi comparison, but he also does acknowledge that if we don't clear these legacy contracts soon, farmers will not get their just due, and that is very important to situate it in the conversation. So, Mr. Kara, I wanted to make sure that I had represented Alfred's views in its entirety, but we're parking it here for the conversation on cocoa, and we're going to be saying goodbye in about just 4 minutes. I did want us to talk, Mr. Kara, what has tickled you so? I wanted to ensure that I brought his full views.
The international market price of cocoa, we are currently doing about 8,200 to 9,000.
That's an overshoot. Yeah. That's fine. Okay. But I wanted to mention that it does acknowledge that there are legacy contracts, which will mean that farmers will not always get their just due because of these issues that have to be ironed out.
Do you know that cocoa sacks. Cocoa sacks. The previous government procured cocoa sacks for the next 7 years.
Forward thinking.
So you procure sacks that you don't need in the next 6 years.
Locally manufactured or imported?
Definitely imported.
Look at that.
Definitely imported. You understand the point?
Our issues are many.
Can you imagine?
Negative forward thinking. Negative forward thinking.
When your cocoa farmers are suffering,
and projected for the next 7 years.
And so they will be there for 5 years for what?
And this is the criminal forward
The
thinking.
same thing they did in
And they need to prosecute them. Because why, on what basis? Somebody like this, you pay for it. I mean, and they have assets. You see, sometimes if we don't do this, we will never go anywhere. Why do you do this to yourself? If it were your own business, will you do this to yourself? And again, you know, about the export, and then we were saying the cocoa paradox. You see, we have not yet reached the state where we think that we, as Ghanaians, Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire, we want to now process our cocoa. We only talk about it, we don't act on it. The other thing too is, Bank of Ghana can give the loan, the syndicated loan. Why do those banks give the loan to Cocoa Board? They know they are gaining.
Yeah.
But if we have our own central bank who give the loan to Cocoa Board, the benefits that would go with when you give a loan, the syndicated banks give loan to Cocoa Board, that benefit will now accrue to our own system, our own bank. This is what we need to go ahead and make sure that we consolidate Cocoa Board. In fact, in actual fact, today, Cocoa Board should have been the institution that will be giving loans to other sectors of the economy, to prop them up. You see, but today, Cocoa Board is very weak, is heavily indebted, it cannot save itself. How can it help any other person? So these are the things I think that going forward, the board, the government need to look at.
Certainly. Another exciting morning in the bag, and we could go on and on and on and on, but we have to make way for womanpreneur. I've got one last question, though, for Dr. Aya. Kwetia by-election coming up September 2nd, and I know the NDC has finally made its choice clear. Yesterday, we talked about the 3 different candidates that you had put forth, and you've decided on the constituency. Is it the secretary? Chairman?
Yeah, so I got information about the results of the election.
The deputy secretary, okay.
Who I think is a lawyer.
He was a lawyer to the one who contested 2020.
Who was also looking to also be the candidate.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that it's the people's choice. There were some people that expressed some misgivings after the election yesterday who are NDC members. I believe that the party has the necessary wherewithal to get a closure on the matter so that we can all face the common enemy. That is those from the MPP. But
that's the common enemy.
Of course. But it is to the beauty of democracy.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, the NDC is a formidable party. The people in Akwatia will compare and contrast their lives under the MPP and their lives under the NDC.
Okay. So we've got the results on the screen there. All right. Okay.
Yes. So they will compare and contrast, and they will make a beautiful choice, just like the people in Ablekumanov made during the election. So for me, there are small issues that emanated. The party will look forward to it, to solve it, so that we can all go forward.
All right. You're ready to do battle? Well, we're ready to, of course, cover everything that happens come September 2nd.
So you think that we don't have interest in what is happening there? Because he's working for government, he has interest.
because of time.
That's okay.
Because of time. That's why. But we can also take a look. This is what it looks like. Would we consider Akwatia a bit of a swing region? Things can definitely swing. Yeah. Global Info swing constituency, I beg your pardon. Global Info Analytics has done some recent work in the constituency, and it is very close indeed. So we see that both parties are in the constituency hard and campaigning. This has been the trajectory. Let's see what 2025 brings us. The NPP and the NDC, they say they are ready for battle. So are we. We are your election command center. So do be sure to stick with us come September 2. Okay, I'll give Mr. Kariwe and Dr. Ramsey, just 30 seconds. Who's taking it? Who's taking it come September 2?
Well, given the figures, if you look at the 2024 elections, you will see that the MPP got up nearly 53%, and then the NDC got 47%. Now, if it is going to be based on this, then it means the NDC needs to work much more than the MPP to be able to overturn this.
Right.
Once there's a reasonable gap, 47% for the NDC, and then nearly 53% for the MPP.
What might say, arguably, is it really that wide?
No, I'm saying it is wide when it comes to elections.
Okay.
It is wide when it comes to elections.
Okay.
But it is not the same. What we have to appreciate is that they are not going to conduct it under different circumstances.
That's right.
You see, this is going to be conducted at the time that it is no more MPP that is in power. One could also say that because MPP was in power, they managed to get that. Now that they are not in power and NDC is in power, it is possible that the fact that the ruling government can force the figures up. Secondly, you see that the candidates have changed.
That's right.
Yeah. And what NDC needs to do, because it is good they went for primaries to show how democratic they are. You see? So they now need to patch up their differences, if any, or even if there are no differences, they need to work together, because the battle is bigger for them than the MPP.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And for presidential, we see that it was very, 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 very close. When Global Info Analytics actually did their work on the grounds, the endorsement for President Mahama seems to be neck and neck, higher actually, for President Mahama in Akwatia. Dr. Ramsey, your 30-second take. Should the NDC, are they being greedy? 184 seats, but they said they are not going to take their foot off the pedal. They are in the constituency. They want all the seats. Oh, allow the mighty minority to at least have a little bit more.
Well, Helen, it's quite unfortunate that we've not really finished with the registration of our party. Otherwise, we would have given them a run for their money in these elections, indeed. But, however, be that as it may, I believe that this is a test case for the IGP to prove that he's really up the task and will ensure that what happened in Ablekuma North will not transpire again in this by-election. And so I wish all the parties well. I know that the current prevailing economic conditions, especially our macroeconomic indicators, definitely blows a wind towards a particular party. But be that as it may, politics is a game that sometimes 1 + 1 is never 2.
We'll be bringing you all of the action come September 2. As I mentioned, do be sure to stick with your election command center. But gentlemen, I'm very grateful for your perspectives on this matter. I think we brought some clarity to the issues. And I look forward to our next engagement. Enjoy the rest of the day. Enjoy the chocolates. Dr. Aya, we're very grateful. You sweetened the morning. Thank you so much. But time check, it is some.
FM 92.7. Urban Lifestyle Radio Station.
25 minutes to the top of the hour. We have Womanpreneur coming up right next.